I met Bob Moore when the mayor selected him to leave Houston and come to Washington, D.C. to serve as the director of the Department of Housing and Community Development. That was in 1982.
He became the first housing department director under Marion Barry.
The neighborhood had been dormant since the riots following the death of Martin Luther King Jr., and the neighborhood was ready for development.
He was a visionary. More than anything else, he was a visionary.
He came to the Department of Housing and Community Development with a big vision for the assignment that Mayor Barry had given to him for community development, economic development, but especially for affordable housing.
As the director of housing after the riots, he built all that affordable housing that was built on those burned out lots.
I moved from Maryland to Columbia Heights in 1982. Most of the houses, like in Fairmont, Girard, they have a lot of abandoned houses.
Columbia Heights was a diamond in the rough. I remember these beautiful townhomes which were boarded up, but I began to meet all these individuals who were committed to the neighborhood. So you had Lynn French, and you had Bob Moore, and you had Lori Kaplan at the LAYC.
We were all working toward the same goal. We needed each other. You used to say, you know, when one boat rises, all the boats rise.
I just remember Bob especially being able to walk around with me and go up and down those streets and talk about his dreams. Talking about Irving Street and Fairmont, and literally having plans for each of those streets, you know, down to the 1300 block and the 1400 block. And I could see what he was talking about. Bob Moore was a visionary. And in order to do economic development, you have to start with a vision. You have to start with the belief and the ability to close your eyes and see what could be.
The first time I met Mr. Moore was in 1996. And at that point, I actually was trying to establish my first studio. And I was looking for an existing building that I could convert into a dance studio. And so he said, I want to show you something. And he pointed to this lot. He said, have you ever thought of building your own studio? And I told him, no, I hadn't thought of that. We met for, God, it must have been about a year, trying to, you know, put all the pieces together, how we were going to do it. And lo and behold, we won the bid. Luckily, we were able to get enough support to make it happen.
Mr. Bob Moore has been a developer. I can say he's a developer because he developed Nehemiah. You'll notice that during the time the Nehemiah was built, he was there to build it, to help the people around.
The Nehemiah project happened long before the Green Line got there. He pulled together a coalition of us about, I think there were 4 or 5 nonprofits, including him, and also 7 banks. And then he and Joe Horning took a lot and built the Nehemiah Center, and it was called the Nehemiah Project.
There was no talk at that time about a subway or any of those things.
Nobody had built anything there. Then he starts bringing in these folks from Target. He starts bringing in folks from Giant. He starts bringing in folks trying to interest them. And in the beginning, they were very reluctant. They were scared of the neighborhood. But he convinced them all that there was money to be made in those neighborhoods.
I think that was the reason he was successful at doing economic development, a visionary, and then knowing who could carry that vision out.
I moved here in 2002. It's so different today than it was then, and it's very easy to see what Bob Moore's influence has been on this area.
I don't know, but I don't believe it. Another comeback can do something better than what he did. But the future is the future. Okay, I meet Robert Moore in 2006 when we tried to make the CPRB something for develop Columbia Road, that part. That's when Jose Suero told me about Robert Moore and DCCH. It was the best experience about commercial thing I can find in DC.
If you are before someone who is looking at your neighborhood or the city as a whole, and they want to come here and they want to bring economic development and they want to bring jobs, what better way to bring them here is a good story. You know, being able to not just give them facts and figures, but to just charm them with a good story about what is and what can be, and then to be able to articulate it.
He's a people person. He was able to talk to all races and come to some conclusion about how he would proceed to develop Columbia Heights and hopefully have something for everybody. He didn't encounter much resistance to the development. It was what would come as a result of development. Were people who were already here, were they going to be able to remain here?
Columbia Heights is in the heart of Ward 1. It's probably one of the most diverse places in the ward. And it is that way because of the work that Bob did, the groundwork that he laid to make sure that it could always be a place for the people who've been here, but also could welcome newcomers.
Once they talked about commercial development, he had a series of meetings called charrettes.
There were questions asked from the community members, what our plans were, who we were, what we planned to do, you know, what is it going to do to traffic, you know, all the questions, I guess, that come when you think about putting something new in the community.
And he considered that information very important to how he would proceed to bring to the neighborhood the things that the community wanted.
Through the community meetings, he do advocate for people, training. Even I attended one of his training, they call it Columbia High Leadership. I attended, that was the second section of that training. And he helped to develop this area to empower people, to empower the residents, to be able to take over their own area.
He worked for the poor. He worked for people who were lower income. That was his calling, and he did it. And he did it out of a deep passion and a deep love. Without him, it would not have happened the way it's happened.
He brought a lot of projects to this area. Today you can see DC USA, you can see Tivoli is operating, or Washington Dancing Institute, or Band League. Office is on 14th Street. Through him, all these things happen.
One of the things that I did recently was introduce a resolution in the council to name the Columbia Heights Fountain Plaza after Mr. Moore. Because I think it's really important that as new people move to our community and as we change little by little, that we remember where we came from.
He loved the people. He loved this community. He loved what he did. He couldn't ever quit doing it. And he did it till he didn't have any more breath. He really believed it's the people.
I hope that we have another leader like him that can take the next step to move Columbia Heights forward again.
His legacy lives on in what he imparted to other people who are continuing the work themselves.
Many of the people on my team did work with Bob, and what that means is that the values and the vision that he brought to his work are also reflected in the work that we do here in the Ward 1 Council office.
Columbia Heights is indeed a thriving and growing neighborhood, and I think as it goes forward will be even more of a magnet to those who are looking to live a life that Columbia Heights offers.
His legacy is the redevelopment of Columbia Heights. I mean, that's his legacy. It's already here.